Yo, FPL community, welcome to Proper Things, the FPL show brought to you by the TT FPL Pro-League, episode 36. It's your boy Michael back again this week with another episode. And game week 36 proved to be a great week for me as it put me in sight of that top 200k as I got a green arrow finally. And it was a great week to have a green arrow as we enter now into the penultimate week of the FPL. And of course, it's going to be a big double game week 37, as 6 teams have 2 fixtures on tap. So we know that a lot of people trying to get those transfers correctly to maximize their points. And we calling double game week 37 chip week, as a lot of people are looking to bench boost to be optimal and get the most points possible. Me, myself, I have 2 chips left, the free hit and the bench boost. So it's exciting times for the legacy team as both weeks chips will be played. So hopefully that could help me rise rank quickly and get up there to the business end of the rankings come the end of the season. So without further ado, I know we have the long-awaited update on the TT FPL Pro-League. Of course, we have the Proper Things segment. But we're kicking things off, of course, with the review of Game Week 36. Game Week 36 kicked off early with the Friday kickoff, giving us a 1-1 draw between Luton and Everton. Arsenal defeated the Cherries of Bournemouth 3-0 on the early kickoff Saturday morning. Rice walking with the 3 points, goal and assist. Saka and Trossard also scoring. 0-0 was the result between Brentford and Fulham. The defenses starring in that one. Newcastle walked away 4-1 winners versus Burnley. Isaac missing a penalty but scoring and assisting Callum Wilson with a goal as well. Nottingham Forest defeated Sheffield 3-1. Callum Hudson-Odoi with a brace. Morgan Gibbs-White with the assist. Manchester City routed Wolves 5-1 as Erling Haaland returned a beaver trick. So 21 points for the big Norwegian. Hope you captain him like I did. 1-0 was the score between Brighton and Aston Villa. A late goal from a missed penalty from João Pedro, but knocking in the rebound for the 1-0 win there. Chelsea defeated West Ham United 5-0. Jackson, Madueke, Palmer all on the score sheets. Points galore for the blue side of London. Liverpool saw off Spurs 4-2, surrendering 2 late goals to Son and Richarlison. Salah back on the points as a goal and 2 assists. No bonuses though for the Egyptian King. And finally, it was a rout by the Eagles of London, defeating Manchester United to the tune of 4-0. Olise brace and Mateta also scoring. And that was the review of Game Week 36. Now with the reviews in the rearview mirror, of course, now we're moving things along to the Proper Things segment. Here's where you get all the information on the assets you need to have, the ones that could give you that rise rank, and of course, the ones that you should get rid of. With the Proper Things picks, the Needle Mover picks, and of course, Spill Milk picks. We'll have no Wondering picks going forward as the season is almost ending, so you can't really have ones to watch with just 2 weeks of the season remaining. This week, of course, and then, of course, the Clash of the Titans, which is Game Week 38, where all the games will be shown simultaneously. So the season is nearing its end. Of course, now we have to alter the thinking for the segment for this game week, as 6 teams will have double fixtures. So, of course, the assets that most managers will target are those from the teams that have 2 fixtures. And just to remind those managers of the teams that have the double fixtures, of course it will be Brighton, Chelsea, 2 Manchester clubs, Man City and United, Spurs, and finally Newcastle. So those are the teams that all the managers will be looking to target, especially those who are chipping, whether it be a bench boost, free hit, or maybe a triple captain they still have in store. So we're kicking things off, of course, with the defender picks, and the Proper Thing defender pick for this week has to be a guy who has been in the needle movers for the past 2 weeks. He absolutely banged in Game Week 35 with a goal, clean sheet, and 3 bonuses. And then last week, he didn't keep the clean sheet, but he won a penalty, so he still kept the points ticking over. I'm talking about Yasko Vardiol of Manchester City coming at 5.1 million. I know there's always this tendency to hang Pep Roulette above all Manchester City assets, whether it be defense, midfielder, or even the striking position. But with the season coming to a conclusion and Manchester City and Arsenal locked in a title rivalry, I think Pep is less likely to shuffle the deck, and with Vardiol playing at such a high level right now, I think he's one of the more locked-in players on the entire clean sheet to play those two games. So with Fulham and of course Spurs on top, I expect to see a healthy dose of Vardiol. So he moves from needle movers into the proper Tings defender pick for double game week 37. One of the needle mover defenders, the guy that I told you all to keep an eye on, was Cucurella of Chelsea. We see in Chelsea now putting the pressure on those teams trying to get into the Europa and Conference League positions, as they have just climbed above United after their defeat to Crystal Palace. So United right now looking like they're in the trenches, and Cucurella has been very integral to that Chelsea defense. We know that they are slow of injuries in the blue side of London, and Cucurella seems to have capitalized on that vacancy after his big money move 2 seasons ago. He's playing regular football, so he's locked in more than likely in Pochettino's system, and he's providing that attacking width in the final third. So unlucky not to come away with more returns thus far, but I think in a double game week, especially with Forest on top, we could see the best of Cucurella. So if you're looking for a defender, I know most people already have Pekovic, maybe you still have Gusto like myself, but you still need that little extra Chelsea asset and you don't want to go into midfield or attack. I think that Cucurella is the best defensive asset to go from the blue side of London. And breaking news just before filming this episode, there are rumors now that Kieran Trippier could be back for Newcastle this weekend versus Brighton with a double on tap. And if Kieran Trippier is back, he is definitely a needle mover, as not many managers would have him in their initial thinking and in their current setup. So if you have the ability to bring Trippier in this week, I think he is the epitome of a needle mover. We already know how amazing he is in the attacking third for Newcastle. Newcastle are one of the defenses I know a lot of people are trying to have an asset just to cover in case Newcastle come with a clean sheet. They have been very topsy-turvy of late, getting clean sheets, but then getting late goals and the occasional hammering. But if you have the ability to bring Trippier in at his premium price, I think this is a chance you can't afford to miss. So Trippier along with Cucurella are your needle mover defenders for the double game week 37. And unfortunately, the lone spilt milk defender pick this week has to be Harry Maguire of United, coming at 4.3 million. I know a lot of people who use their wild card in game week 35 try to get a United asset in defense. Most went for Onana, maybe Darlow, but there are a few who stuck the English defender in their team. And I don't even think if he was fit, he would be a guy that a lot of managers would have faith in, but with the injury ruling him out of game week 36, there seems to be no sign of life when it comes to game week 37 for the availability of Maguire, so he's definitely going to run his spilt milk list, as well as the entire United defense. But as a City fan, I'm hoping that they could show up versus Arsenal in their first encounter in the game week 37. And now with the defenders in the rearview mirror, of course, now we have to switch gears into the midfield. And this is where the bulk of the thinking or the engine room of the decisions for FPL managers are this double game week, because most of the assets that a lot of managers have in their thoughts are coming from which midfielder could outscore which and all of that. So to sort things out, I hope this segment helps. So kicking things off with the proper Tings midfielder picks, and there are 3 guys who I think are absolutely essential if you're free hitting or if you have the ability to do 2 transfers and don't have these assets. And those 3 midfielders are, and in order, are Cole Palmer of Chelsea coming at 6.2 million, Heung-min Son of Tottenham coming at 9.9 million, and of course Anthony Gordon coming in at 6.4 million. And Palmer goes without saying, as he is the highest scoring midfielder in the last 4 game weeks. And Bruno was giving him a run for his money, but of course Bruno missed the last game week because of injury. We all know what Palmer is about. Hat tricks earlier on, well, in April, continuing the form and keeping the points ticking over. Chelsea have one of the more enticing double game weeks this game week 37, and I expect them to continue their hot form as they are looking to get into those European spaces and solidify their European aspects this season. So with Nottingham Forest, of course, being one of the fixtures, I expect Chelsea to show out. Cole Palmer, of course, being their star boy, and coming in at 6.2 million, I think he's a must-have. So he's the first midfielder that should be on a team sheet. Second is Heung-min Son, and before you take off video and say Tottenham ain't playing any ball, you have to look at what Tottenham have on tap, and especially what Son has on tap. Their first game is against Burnley, one of the easier fixtures if you're in the Premier League. We all know that Burnley is there for the taking, and Spurs need to get a W in that win column immediately. And Son is one of the best players on that Spurs team. And then secondly, their second game is against Manchester City. And then when you hear Manchester City, you think that it's not a good fixture. But historically, this is Son's favorite opponent, and I should know because I'm a Manchester City fan, and Son always seems to find the back of the net. We just saw one of those streaks broke on this last game week, so this is not a week to be talking about streaks as Brighton held Watkins blank, but Son has just been a thorn in my side for a very long time. And even if Spurs were not to win that game, or even if you think City are going to beat up on Spurs, Son could still get a return, and that's what you're looking for in the fantasy. So with games against Burnley and Manchester City, I think Son is a guy you need to have in your team, and most people already have him in their teams because of the double that Spurs had in 35, along with Palmer. So Palmer and Son, again, I would continue having those two assets in your team. And then the last guy is Anthony Gordon, and that goes without saying because now we know that Newcastle have a home game in a double, and we know Gordon is a guy just seems to be picking up those fouls in the boxes, and barring that Isaac miss in game 36, Newcastle have been putting away their penalties. I know there are a lot of managers who are frustrated when they see Anthony Gordon just getting fouled in the box and Newcastle converting the penalties, so the assist there for Gordon, and Gordon has been in scintillating form when it comes to St. James Park. So if you don't have Gordon at his price point, you could basically do a direct switch with any of the midfielders you have. So Gordon has to be in your team. Names that narrowly miss out and should be on your radar if you already have those three players are, of course, Phil Foden from Manchester City. We know what Phil is doing this season, and with City in the midst of a title run, I think he's a can't-miss option, but I just like the three other assets a little bit more. And then, of course, if you're looking a little deeper for the single game week players, I don't think any of the Arsenal boys are a bad shout, whether it be Saka, whether it be Kai Havertz, or whether it be Martin Odegaard. We saw Crystal Palace just put a beating on United, so if you have one of the Arsenal boys, I wouldn't prioritize shifting them out for a double game week player if you have other fires to put out within the team. I still think that the Arsenal boys are a great pick for this single game week. And now that you have the must-haves in midfield, or the more popular picks, of course now you'll be looking now for the differential midfielder picks that could give you that boost in points. So now we move into the needle mover midfielder picks, or the differentials. And I have three more guys here that should be in your thoughts, and we're kicking things off with Madueke of Chelsea. I told you about Madueke last week, him being the wandering midfielder pick. We saw what he did against West Ham, and like I said, some players are just better fantasy players than real life players. I know there's a lot of frustration with Madueke as a player, but fantasy wise he seems to be one who is not scared to, as they say, jack up the shots, using a basketball terminology. He always seems to be on to take on those tight angles when it comes to trying to get goals, and we saw that he was frustrated in game week 35 when he didn't score, and we saw that frustration lifted in 36. So I don't expect him to stop shooting anytime soon. And with 2 games on tap, if he hits the target, he could be on for a lot of points. So Madueke lands on a needle mover midfielder pick this game week. Accompanying him is a guy who announced his return from injury against Liverpool with a goal and an assist off the bench. I'm talking about R9 or Richarlison coming in at 6.8 million. I know a lot of people have shied away from Spurs or have a bitter taste from Tottenham for these past game weeks, as they've been receiving L after L and the fantasy assets have not been firing. But Richarlison is a guy who plays in midfield in the fantasy, but is the number 9 for Spurs. And he's one of the more attacking players in that Spurs setup, as he's the head of the spear. We saw him get the goal and assist, like I said, versus Liverpool. And he's a guy who will be looking to get more returns as the season closes, as he's trying to be that number 9 for Brazil come Copa America. So hopefully with Burnley and with Manchester City, he could at least get 150 minutes combined. And if he gets minutes, I think the returns are on top. So thus he lands in the differential side of things this week, as a lot will be going for the more popular midfielders and Son being his teammate. But I think R9 could provide those who have that little, as I say, belly or guts and going for the differential with a nice return in game week, in double game week 37. And the final differential is a premium guy, as premium as they come, 10.5 million. I'm speaking about Kevin De Bruyne. I know getting this guy in your team is not going to be as easy as getting R9, Richarlison, or the aforementioned Madueke in at 5.3. But if you have the ability to bring Kevin De Bruyne in without absolutely doing major surgery in your team and avoiding hits, I think this could be the week that it provides a big return for you. I mean, the season is almost over, and if you're chasing, most of the players in your mini league might have the Haaland, a Vardiol, or Edison, and then of course Phil Foden in midfield. So if you have 2 City assets and you have the ability to bring Kevin De Bruyne in by avoiding hits, I think this could be the week that he returns heavily. I know there's always the minutes risk, but with Manchester City out of Europe and with the league fight with Arsenal ending in a crescendo, I really believe that Kevin De Bruyne will start both games. So we're at least going to get 120 to 150 minutes from the Belgium, and that's worst case scenario. And once he plays, we know the points are going to come. So Kevin De Bruyne lands on the needle mover list for the midfielders this game week. So him, R9, and of course Madueke, if you're looking for the differentials, those are the 3 guys who I think that provide those big ups in points this game week. And finally, one sell for you in the double game week midfielders category, or Spiltman midfielder pick. It has to be a Dingra of Brighton coming at 5 million. If you're one of the owners of a Dingra who are thinking that, you know what, I don't need to move him out because he has 2 fixtures, I don't think that he's a guy you could really count on in the state of things right now, as Brighton have not been playing well and Adingra is not really the same threat that he was earlier in the season. If you're looking for a Brighton midfielder, maybe Gross might be a better pick, but I would stay away from Brighton altogether if I could. Maybe I'm proven wrong, but right now the form seems to have left this team and they are there for the taking. Even João Pedro missed a penalty, but he scored the rebound. So not a lot of great things coming out from the Seagull camp. And Adingra unfortunately lands on the spilt milk midfielder list for this double. And now with the midfielders covered, we're moving into the forward line. And there's nowhere else to start any proper things forward list but the guy who's coming off a beaver trick, 21 points in game week 36, and that's Erling Haaland of Manchester City coming in at 14.2 million. I warned you all that he seemed to be finding a little rhythm off the bench in game week 35, and he proved me right in game week 36 versus Wolves as a phenomenal performance from the big Norwegian. I think that goes without saying that he's a must-have for double game week 37 with Arsenal again and City fighting for the title. He's going to be part of both games and probably the most captain player. So Erling Haaland, proper things forward pick. And joining him is the Swedish Viking of Newcastle. I'm speaking about Alexander Isak coming at 8.4 million. Unfortunately, the boy Alexander missed a penalty in game week 36, but he converted a nicely taken goal just mere minutes later to still end on a goal and assist for the game week. and I think that he'll be a guy who will be looking to redeem himself further in this double game week. The Golden Boot seems to have slipped through his grasp with Erling scoring 4 goals, but Alexander Isak will be looking to end the season on a bang. So he joins Erling Haaland in your proper things forward pick for the double game week 37. Now, if you're looking for that third striker and you have the ability to bring in a player that is 7 million, I think that Jackson is the guy that you need to have when it comes to the needle movers this game week, as the haircut that he took seems to have worked, as he's been finding the back of the net now at a more regular clip. We saw what Chelsea did to West Ham, and with Nottingham Forest being on tap for game week 37, I do think Chelsea could be in store for a big crescendo to their season. Of course, Chelsea's second game will be against the Seagulls of Brighton, so that is another team that could be there for the taking, and I do believe Chelsea has the best double game week of all the teams, Jackson again being the tip of the spear. We also have to keep an eye on the return of Christoph Nkunku, but I think that we have to remember that in preseason, Pochettino preferred to play both of them together, with Nkunku more playing the 10 role and Jackson the tip of the spear at the 9. Maybe he continues that line of thought going forward, and with the arrival of Palmer and the simply brilliance of the Englishman, I think the three of them together could actually provide fireworks for Chelsea to end their season. So if you have the 7 million available to bring in a striker, I think Jackson could be that big differential, especially for those who didn't have the ability to wildcard in game week 35. And joining him is a striker who is a little bit more pricey, and that's Callum Wilson, coming in at 7.8 million. I have to mention Wilson after Jackson because at this point of the season, it's very hard to go triple Newcastle attack. And what I mean is, a lot of people already have Anthony Gordon, who will be moving for the English midfielder, and a lot of people already have Alexander Isak at 8.4 million. I do not recommend doing a pivot from Isak to Wilson if you have to take a -4 to do that move. But if you have no other fires to put out in your team, you're not playing the bench boost this game week, and you want to play a little cheeky ball, maybe you do Isak to Wilson, hoping that Wilson outscores Isak, but I think it's really close. But the thing about Wilson is, you already know that when he plays, he always returns. So minutes equals fantasy points when it comes to Wilson. So Wilson to me is a big differential this game week, but he has to come behind Jackson for me, because playing that triple Newcastle again, because a lot of people already have Gordon and of course Isak, is a lot trickier, especially with Chelsea having the easier double. So Jackson and Wilson are your differential forwards, or your needle mover forwards for double game week 37. And then finally, a forward who I would be selling, although he's on a double or moving away. I mean, some people, if you have him, you just have to play him and hope for the best, and that's Højlund of United, coming at 7.1 million. And I have to say that this could change depending on the availability of Bruno Fernandes for the double. We saw a rare miss from Bruno, so that has me thinking that the injury to Bruno Fernandes is legit, because with United in the position they are in the table, they're looking to get as much points as they could to climb out from that hole they've dug for themselves. So if Bruno is missing games, maybe the injury is more serious than we are first led to believe. And with one of the games in the double being against, of course, Arsenal, one of the best defense in the league, I don't think there will be a lot of opportunities for Højlund to return, especially with Rashford on the injured list. Bruno, we have to wait until a later date. So for me, Højlund might be a guy you move away from, or is not in your line of thinking for the double game week. So that concludes the striker portion for this week's episode of Proper Things. So I hope you all enjoyed the picks or the assets recommended in this week's segment of Proper Things. But I have to put a keynote here. I know that this week's segment circled or focused on the double game week players, but some crafty single game week players that you could keep or should be kept in your line of thinking and shouldn't be rushed to be sold. If you still have players from the Everton defense, as they do play Sheffield United this game week, so the Everton defense, although having a single game week, should be kept in your thoughts. Again, the Arsenal defense versus a depleted United team. I wouldn't be rushing to sell them or any Arsenal asset, whether it be defender, midfielder. I think that they are still good picks. And if you have to take a hit for them, I wouldn't really see the point of that. And then lastly, I do believe that the Luton versus West Ham game could have some goals in them for West Ham as they're looking to get back to parity after that beating they got from Chelsea 5-0. So if you're a Bowen owner, he could be one of those tricky or sneaky plays for the single game week into a double game week play. So I wouldn't be rushing to sell those players. With that being said, I hope you all again enjoying the content so far, and I'd like to hear from you all in the comment section. So whether you agree with the picks or disagree, or if you have alternative picks, you could go down there and leave your thoughts on things. And while you're there, leave in your comment, you can like the video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate all the support and all the love this season. I know it's coming to an end. I know you guys are going to miss the weekly videos, but we'll be back next season, of course, for sure. So don't forget again to leave your comments, to like and subscribe to the channel. And now that you have gotten all the information that you need to get those picks right, I know that there are one more dilemma that most managers have, and that's who to put the coveted armband on. Well, have no fear, as Captaincy Corner is here. Here on Captaincy Corner, I give you the 5 best options to put the armband on, and 4, and of course, the 5th pick being the cheeky ball play, or the, as they say, the haymaker you're throwing for that big differential. That is the make or break or the Hail Mary pick. I think that there's not going to be a lot of debate with the number 1 option for the double game week 37, and that's Big Erling Haaland of Manchester City. I know if you're a manager who is at top your mini leagues, who looking to hold for that W at the end of the season, you have 2 weeks to hold on for. It's just a set and forget on Big Erling Haaland. He already did it as soon as Game Week 36 locked and Game Week 37 was available. You said, you know what, we're going Big Erling and the double. So Erling Haaland is your number 1 captain this week. I don't think any discussion needs to be had here. Coming in at number 2, and if you're looking to chase and you say, you know what, I'm going against Erling, I think the second best option is Cole Palmer from Chelsea. I said this a lot of times this season. If it wasn't for the price tag, Cole Palmer would have a lot more believers when it comes to giving him the armband. He lands on number 2 this week, with Chelsea's double being the most enticing double, with, of course, Nottingham Forest and Brighton, the 2 fixtures. Coming in at number 3 in the middle of the pack is the best asset from Newcastle. He did miss a penalty in Game Week 36, but it has to be Alexander Isak. Like I said, Isak has just been showing us he finds a way to get returns, but I have him below Cole Palmer and, of course, Erling Haaland this game week. And coming in at number 4, I have to put Palmer's teammate Jackson here. It was close for the number 4 spot, as I had Bruno in my thoughts, and of course Phil Foden, Kevin De Bruyne and these guys. But I decided to give Jackson the nod because he seems to be finding the back of the net from his opportunities a lot this game week, and I like the double that Chelsea have the most. They're just coming off a 5-0 win versus West Ham, and they're looking to solidify a spot in one of those European competitions. So Poch is coming on late to save his job, and Jackson comes in at number 4. And finally, cheeky ball play, of course, has to be another double game week player, and that is Heung-min Son of Tottenham Hotspurs. As I said in the Proper Things segment, Spurs has not been playing well, but they do have Burnley, which is a great fixture, and then one of Son's most favourite opponents is, of course, Manchester City, and I would know that as a City fan. He always seems to find the back of the net, and that's what you're looking for in FPL points. You're not necessarily hoping Spurs win the game or Spurs get a result. So Son is the cheeky ball play. If you're looking to go way off the reservation and you're saying, you know what, we have nothing left to lose and we're going for the big hit or the big uppercut, Son is your guy. So Son is the cheeky ball play. And just to reiterate, I do believe Haaland is by far the best captaincy option this game week. He's going to be the most captain player by miles this game week, especially with his exploits with the Beaver. and Palmer comes in at number 2 for me. So that concludes the captaincy corner picks for this game week, and good luck to all the managers. Now with the captaincy corner delivered, we're moving into the return of a segment that a lot of managers were waiting for. We've not been able to do it because of the FPL schedule, but I'm speaking about the group chat that is the most rowdy. It's the group that wants to know who's going to be the inaugural champion. I'm speaking about the return of the race for the 10K. Here on the race for the 10K, I give you the latest update in the standings for the TT FPL Pro-League. And if we look at the standings right now, we could see after all the drama that went down in the last few weeks, that the top three, the three musketeers, they're still separating themselves from the pack to make it a triple threat. And that is Sober Slads, Ewick 12, and White Rice Party. At the top of the pack and continuing its charge towards the inaugural championship, it's Sober Slads by FPL Trini with 115 points this game week, 2,439 on the season. So this guy here, FPL Trini, just holding firm, holding the rope, and continuing to march towards the inaugural championship. So congrats there to FPL Trini and Sober Slads there, continuing marching towards that championship. In second is his cheap rival that continues to fight there to try to snipe FPL Trini when it's all said and done. 110 points this game week, 2,417 on the season. Andre continuing to keep the pressure on Sober Slads, playing for slips and hoping to snipe the leader by the end of game 38. And Salim keeping pace with the leaders there with White Rice Party. We could see that the difference there was Salim took a shot there at the leaders with differential captain. It didn't quite work out, but I congratulate Salim on trying to force his way into the championship conversation, and hopefully he closes the gap and makes himself even a bigger challenger going into this double game week. So those are the top three heading into the penultimate week, and we want to congratulate those managers for their big performances thus far, and we hope that they have great success in the final 2 weeks. To round out the top 5, of course, we see in Dr. Phil Foden by Capel, 122 on the game week. Big game week there by the Doc. And Everyone Loves a Fatty by Ryan Jaggernaut, there 115 on the game week and 2,366 as he climbs into the top 5. Closing out the top 10 is Midas Touch by Lorenzo, Red Explosion by Mark, Baruda FC by Shane, Lord of the Mings by Jordan, and of course Lion King Simba. Just continuing to solidify that top 10 spot with the 10th position. Seeing that a little green arrow there by Pelican Bay by my cousin Nick there. If we go a little further, we could see a small little green arrow from the 30s into 28 by Legacy 10X. But we'll get to my team in a few moments, as of course with the end of the month, we have an award to hand out. I'm speaking about the manager of the month for the month of April. So now if we shift into the month of April and see who had the best month so far in the TT FPL Pro-League and who walked away with the Manager of the Month award, we're starting off with number 5. So we're doing a little drum roll here. And number 5 is Just in Time by Andre Bennett, who had a massive 418 points in the month of April. In fourth is Keston Critchlow with 431 points, Keston FC being his team. White Rice Party, or the man who is in third position currently, Salim, coming in on number 3 as well for the month of April with 436 points. 2 points behind number 2 and Salah by Javid. And the manager of the month for April 2024 is Red Explosion FC by Mark Nunes with a massive 452 points for the month of April. So congratulations to Mark on capturing the Manager of the Month award for April 2024. Of course, we have one more Manager of the Month award to give out. It's going to be a 2-week race to see who wins that final trophy. So hopefully, managers have their chips in store, their plans in store, and we'll see who wins that final trophy in me. But again, congratulations to Mark Nunez, our April 2024 Manager of the Month. And now with all the housekeeping done and the Manager of the Month award given out, we return into the team there in mid-table. I'm speaking about my team, to look at my planned transfer this upcoming game week. And if we look at my setup, we see that there's a big potential problem, and that's the availability of Bruno Fernandes. As just a recap, I still have my bench boost and free hit available, so one will be played this week and of course the other in the final game week. But if Bruno Fernandes is unable to answer the call for the double, I'll definitely have to be playing my free hit this game week and playing 11 double game week players. But if he's available, the planned transfer at the time of recording is of course Neto out and a goalkeeper in. It will either be the Brighton goalkeeper or maybe I go for the Bronca if I get news that Pope is not ready. And finally, I want another striker in place of Solanke, with Jackson being the guy that I'm eyeing on. So a -4 is definitely on tap for this game week. But again, Bruno Fernandes holds the key, as if he's unable to play the double, I'll definitely have to free hit because I'll have to take too many hits to play the bench boost, and hopefully he returns for game week 38. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Proper Things. I hope you all enjoying the season so far and you all enjoying the picks. I've been very thankful to being able to bring you all 36 episodes thus far. We've really come a long way from the beginning. I'd like to hear from you all in the comment section whether you're liking things, whether you're not vibing with the episode so far, and if you have alternative picks or something that you'd like to hear in the show, don't forget to go down there in the comment section. And while you're there, you can like the video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're almost to the finish line of, well, season 1 of Proper Things. And just a little spoiler, I know that we have something very exciting coming at the end of the season for the Euros, but I'll leave that for Ezra to explain next week on next week's episode of Proper Things. So Ezra will be on in the next episode to explain some exciting things that we have coming soon for you guys. But with that being said, we have a big double game this week. Best of luck to all the managers to stay safe there. I hope you all get the picks right. And don't forget to do proper things in all walks of life. I'll see you all next week.